Everybody, welcome live to the Jim Master Show, live entertainment, lifestyle, celebrity talk show series. Good to have you with us. Thanks for watching around the world. Stuart Pankin is here. He's a return guest. He was with us just a couple of weeks ago when we had Mariette Hartley with us and Jerry Sroka, Peter McNichol, and also Peter Honorati was with us as well. And it was a fantastic conversation about this really cool film that Mariette Hartley and Jerry Sroka are starring in. I don't want to say too much about it. Go back in time, take a look. It's all archived on a YouTube channel. This episode, we're talking about and celebrating Stuart Pankin, legendary actor extraordinaire, an American actor known, of course, for his role as anchor Bob Charles and Not Necessarily the News. And, of course, the voice of Earl Sinclair in Dinosaurs, also known for his portrayal of Commander Edward Plank in the Zenon trilogy films. And also Ben Heineman in Curb Your Enthusiasm, as well as making many guest appearances in many television shows and lending his voice to various animated shows and films too. Among his approximately 36 films, Hollywood Nights. He's also appeared in Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves, and of course as Jimmy in Fatal Attraction and lots more. Born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, attended Dickinson College, member of Sigma Alpha Epsilon, Columbia University as well. He's got an incredible career, 5-time nominated Cable Ace Award winner for HBO's national and international award-winning series, Not Necessarily the News. He received the master's degree in theater from Columbia University. Yeah, there's a cool shot of him there. He's just about ready to announce some breaking news to all of us. Really extraordinary background. As I mentioned, the master's degree in theater from Columbia. I went on to perform with the New York Shakespeare Festival, Brooklyn Academy of Music Repertory Company, the American Place Theater, the Repertory Company of Lincoln Center, and the Folger Shakespeare Theater, as well as The Winter's Tale, The Inspector General, Bartholomew's Fair, and The Three Sisters among his favorites. He created the roles of Reuben and Queen Victoria in the New York premiere of Andrew Lloyd Webber's Joseph and the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Did you know that? Yeah, some of you may even remember that as well. It's really, really something cool to be chatting about. I mentioned, of course, Dinosaurs, lending his voice to Dinosaurs. We'll talk about that just a second, and some of the other cool things that he's been involved in over the years. He starred or was featured in over 80 Broadway, summer, and regional theater productions. Lend Me a Tenor, Rumor, as well as Joe Egg, Sly Fox, Chapter 2, Carnival, Born Yesterday, Taylor's Folly, Wait Until Dark, Happy Days the Musical for Gary Marshall, Strike Up the Band, 1776, City of Angels, LA, of course, Silk Stockings, Little Shop of Horrors. And he also starred, as I mentioned, in Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves, the first live action made for a video feature, The Hollywood Nights, Mannequin on the Move, The Dirt Bike Kid, Second Sight, Encounter in the Third Dimension, Misadventures in 3D, in the IMAX 3D movies, as the professor, the voice of the adorable animated robot Hopeless in June. As I mentioned, Fatal Attraction, The Artist, Academy Award winner, and Life Stinks, Congo, and An Eye for an Eye, and Irreconcilable Differences, and A Warrior's Tale. And I told you, folks, this is just the short list. Babylon 5, and An Accidental Christmas, Down, Out, and Dangerous. And that is just some of his epic work. He's done so much. There is from Fatal Attraction. Yeah. There he is talking to Michael Douglas. It's a cool shot of him too there too. And as I mentioned, very well known for the Nightly News with Bob Charles, with Not Necessarily the News. There he is with the actual cast, which was really, really hilarious. It was a fantastic series. And there he is as well. And as I mentioned, Dinosaurs. And we're going to show you some of these as we sprinkle things in. And of course, he was in that as well. This is just the short list of folks. We've got a lot of comments coming in already for the Jim Master Show Live series. Welcome if this is your first time here, gang. Thanks for stopping by. It's really cool to have you here. Again, he's been doing so much. He's been a spokesperson in infomercials, including the Walk Fit Phase 4 orthotics shoe. You've probably seen that as well. And he's been married to actress Joy Pankin since 1974. And together they have a son, Andy, as well. It's really cool. He's also known for his comedy roles and game show appearances, like the $100,000 Pyramid, and he's also taken dramatic roles too, as I mentioned, in Fatal Attraction and others. Short list, folks. He's an iconic talent in American history, and he was just with us as we had Mariette Hartley and the gang on, and that's a beautiful movie. Check that out that we're talking about. First, let's welcome Stuart Pankin to our show for a fabulous conversation of the Jim Masters Show.
Thanks, Jim. That introduction was so long. I really have to go to the bathroom.
You got to. That's what you get for being so super busy and super.
If I knew I'd done all that, I'd ask for more money.
Sort of go back and renegotiate a few things, right? Oh my God! And that's the short list. And you are a Philadelphia boy.
Philadelphia, go.
Yes, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, in the Eagles, I don't know. There might be a possibility there.
I haven't been in touch with that sports team for many.
Oh, yeah. They are in this season doing incredibly well. So they
Cool.
might be. There might be some excitement in Philadelphia, possibly. How did growing up in Philadelphia influence your interest in the arts and entertainment and performance? And was there any of those indications within your family as well?
Well, no, nobody was in show business. My uncle was actually a very famous treasurer, box office treasurer for New York. He was asked by Flo Ziegfeld personally to come from, I guess, from Philadelphia to New York to manage the Ziegfeld Follies. Which is kind of cool. I always knew that there was a spark of actor in me. As a kid, I used to entertain when we had family dinners. I used to just get up and dance around and sing around. But growing up in Philadelphia, there was in my high school, there was no auditorium. It had collapsed, about a couple of years or a year before I got there. So there was no plays to do like many kids have the opportunity to do. So I didn't get a chance to do that, although I knew, when somebody said, we want to do a reading of Chekhov or something, I said, I'm there. So I knew there was something in me. But Philadelphia didn't just spark my interest in acting. That didn't happen probably until college. When I started to be a psychology major. I signed up to be a psychology major, but when they called for the audition for the first play and I walked across that dark, scary campus to go to the audition place, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And there was no theater major at Dickinson when I went to college. So I majored in English, which was recommended by one of the theater guys there. He said, that's the proper major for an actor. And there was only 5, theater courses. I took as many as I could. But that's what started me. And Dave Brubaker, who was my teacher, director, and later friend, wonderful man, kind of inspired me to stick with it and to do it. And from that time on, I knew I had some sort of history in theater.
Were you going more towards the dramatic or the comedic or a little bit of both, Stuart?
Well, in college, you do what they, you do plays that are offered you. And there was a little bit of all. It was, Ibsen and not Neil Simon, we didn't do that, but some of the restoration plays, which were comedy. So, it was, to answer the question, it's a little bit of both. I kind of knew that I was going to head more towards comedy, but that didn't happen until you get to California and they cast you in comedy. And once you cast in comedy, that's it. You're in comedy. And I really appreciated in California and Hollywood some of the dramatic roles that I got to do, mostly on stage.
Right, exactly. Because as much as people know you from the television shows and the movies, you've got a wonderful stage career. And as I mentioned, a great association with Broadway. Do you love that part of your career, Broadway and theater?
Well, to be honest with you, the only Broadway credit I have is when I worked at Lincoln Center. They called that Broadway.
Broadway, right.
Just to be, just to be totally honest, I always wanted to work under a Broadway contract and to do that. When we were doing Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, Andrew Lloyd Webber came in to watch a rehearsal, and we were going to move it from the Brooklyn Academy of Music to the Broadway. And then various things happened, which I won't bore you with, and it never happened. But that was a big disappointment to me. It was fun. It was great to do the show, and that show got me out to California. But I've always been a little disappointed that I never worked under a Broadway contract. But theater is where my heart is. The old story is when you're in New York or Philadelphia or Chicago, wherever you are doing theater, how do I get to California? How do I get to Hollywood? How can I do that? And then when you get to Hollywood, you say, how do I get back to New York? How do I
get back east? Right.
Yeah. And luckily, I'm lucky that my wife was involved in a summer theater program connected with a college, St. Vincent College. It's still in operation. And we did a lot of shows together, and I did a lot of shows there over, off and on over decades. And that's where my heart is, to do those plays and parts that I probably realistically would never get cast at in the real world, because they would cast an older person to play an older person and a younger person to play younger. But the St. Vincent Theater was a great boon to me in learning and growing and enjoying, well, my first love. I mean, when I got the master's degree in Columbia, I knew I wanted to do theater. I didn't know anything about Hollywood and how to get there, blah, blah, blah. So theater was going to be my thing. And it made me happy. Theater made me happy.
Yeah, you're still doing a lot of stuff within theater. For those who are super fans who are watching right now, are there things that you're working on? And have you had an opportunity to write some screenplays and material yourself along the way, Stuart?
Well, I've dabbled in writing over the years, but I'm not a writer. I don't have that discipline. I mean, every time I read a script or read a great book, I say, how do they do this? Like, how do you write a symphony? I can't do that. I've written 3 or 4 symphonies, but that's it. No, I didn't write any.
Speaking of music, any instruments that you play? And do you sing?
I do sing. I've done a lot of musicals in my time. Love doing them. I love doing them more than watching them, to be honest. And I played the trumpet when I was young. I was in the concert band in high school and the marching band for years. I'm actually, because of a relationship with Nancy Severinsen and not necessarily the news, Doc Severinsen gave me a trumpet.
Really?
And that's a trumpet that I played for a long time. He was actually, I did a special, Cinemax special called Hump, musical version of Richard III. I wrote the music for that, and a bunch of other guys wrote the script. But I asked Doc to be in it because of Nancy, and he did. He had a short part in it, and I gave him a carry trumpet bag. He gave me a trumpet. I think I won. And then sadly, we had to cut Doc out because of time, and I wrote him a letter. Because he got me interested in the trumpet when I was younger. I mean, I listened to some of his records on the Command label, and it was like he was talking to you. That trumpet was speaking.
That's so cool to have that opportunity, huh?
Cool. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. And he's still going at it, I believe. He's still
he's played his last official concert. I think he
went quite long, in his career. Extraordinary.
Astounding. And they always say never meet your idols, but I met my idol, and it was not disappointing at all to meet Doc.
So you always. And before Doc on the Tonight Show, it was Skitch Henderson, wasn't it?
I believe it was. That was before I was born, but yes.
Skitch Henderson. Yeah, I remember hearing. Yeah, you see some old clips of the Tonight Show with Carson in the early years with Skitch conducting. How did the opportunity, and this was so much fun, the nightly news, Bob Charles, with not necessarily the news, come your way? How did that opportunity come your way? I mean, perfect casting.
Yeah, I'm very happy about that. It was serendipitous. I mean, I auditioned for the San Pedro Bums. Actually, here it is. See, San Pedro Bums. There I am.
You got it right there. Yeah.
Young, heavy-set band. And I auditioned for that, and Michael Jacobs, who was a big producer, I think he's left the business too. I met him. He gave me a show that he did called No Soap Radio. One of the writers there was Ron Richards. See, this is a long, serendipitous story. I saw Ron Richards at a screening of something, and he said, "You want to do a cable show called audition for a cable show called Not Necessarily News?" I said, "What is cable?" And I said, "Sure. I mean, absolutely." So I auditioned for Not the News, and got it. And in the beginning, it was just like my wife hates this phrase, but a weak sister. It was just cable. It was 29% cable penetration. You should pardon the expression. In the business, and less than that for pay cable. And HBO was pay cable. And the first days, literally, we went up to location in the boondocks, and our first dressing room was in the men's room of the Shell station in Simi Valley. And I mean, that's the truth. And literally, Nancy said, "Buy gas from them so they'll let us stay."
Buy gas, right?
I mean, the girls were changing costumes behind the open doors. We're sitting on rocks, brushing away, spiders and scorpions. Then it got better. And it's one of the highlights, of my career, to do that show, to have it become as successful as it was, and to meet the people. You showed the cast before, those wonderful people that we still, except for Danny, who's sitting, he sadly passed away, but Mitch and Lucy and Annie, I mean, we still stay in touch happily. I mean, we've become friends and remain friends. So it was a wonderful experience, artistically and socially.
And the response, being on a series like that, which was unique, it was special, it was different. Yeah. It sort of then elevates things just in terms of notoriety, publicity. You're on regularly. It's becoming very popular. There's a cult following happening. What was that like for you, just individually, but also for the career, having this opportunity to be a part of something that at that time really groundbreaking?
Yeah, it was great. And like I said, it took a few years for Not the News to kick off. That was the days when the National Cable Association was pretty hot, and they had some wonderful events, awards things, and they took the cast of Not the News, sent us all over the country to do teaching sessions with colleges, kids in colleges. It was, it was a very enlightening and entertaining time for me. As far as the career goes, I'm not sure if anything popped out directly because of that. I not that it didn't. I'm not sure if some of the auditions I got in those years in the 80s and the early 90s came from Not Necessarily News, but there is nothing negative that I can say or think about when it comes to that show. And I can't imagine it not helping me along the way. And as I get into my dotage, thinking back on it, it was I said it, one of the highlights of my life.
Absolutely. And had there been talk of any sort of reboot, bringing it back after it? Really? Yes.
Yes. I mean, and the problem is that there's a union problem. And I won't get into the details, but we had a lot of writers off and on the show, including Conan O'Brien. He was a writer. But there's a problem that everybody would have to be paid, and also to reboot it. You could do. I used to ask John Moffat and Pat Lee, the producers, all the time. People are asking me, "Are you going to bring the show back?" And they say no. They say they've gone beyond that. I haven't. I'd be happy to do it or do a guest spot on it. But no, the answer is that ship has sailed.
Yeah, but boy, what fond memories, huh? And sometimes I guess, it's sort of encapsulated in a time when, people can watch this. Now, was this ever released on? Oh, well, that's Fatal Attraction too. We'll get to that in a second. That was another one, but released on DVD, or where people can still see these episodes again, like now, or on one of the nostalgic, Me TVs or any of the channels?
I don't know if it's on like one of the networks or Freevee or whatever it is. I know if you go to YouTube and you type in Not Necessarily News, you can see a lot of episodes and scenes, whole episodes from Not the News. Was it ever released as a DVD? I taped it when I was doing the show and transferred it to DVD, but I don't know if they ever sold it. I know Dinosaurs went to DVD right away, but I'm not sure if Not Necessarily the News went public commercially to DVD. But if you want to watch it, or a lot of it, or some of it, go to YouTube, type in "Not the News," not necessarily the news, and you'll
It's
see
right there.
a lot of it. Yeah.
You've also, again, of your illustrious career and so many incredible things you've done and continue to do, voice Earl Sinclair in Dinosaurs. That's really a cool role too that people love and have a fondness for. How did that happen for you?
Well, it was an audition. Again, Michael Jacobs, who produced Boy Meets World, Girl Meets World, Pie Meets Cake, all those. He produced it, and he called everybody in California went in, and Hollywood went in to audition for that part because it's a great, voiceovers are a terrific part. Dinosaurs was going to be with the Henson Company. It was going to be animatronic puppets. It actually turned out to be the most expensive half-hour show, maybe still, but to
Really?
date.
Wow.
Well, it's just expensive to maintain the costumes and the animatronics. It was a fascinating show to do. So I auditioned for it. And I got it. And again, very grateful for that.
And what was that like? What was it like voicing the character, and when you were seeing the scripts, what you'd have to voice and the premise of it all? And of course, then there's the fanfare and the cult following for that as well. What was all that like for you on a daily basis, Stuart?
Well, we used to come in to the studio and read the script with everybody, Sally and Jessica Walter, God bless her, and whoever else was in the show, guest stars. Then they realized they didn't have to do that. So basically, each one of us went into the booth one day a week. It took 2 days, 2 full 8-hour days to do the pilot. But we eventually got it down to 1 day a week to voice the characters. Now, what happened is the Henson puppeteers who worked the animatronics, you move a finger here and an eye goes up and a mouth goes down, and you can program that to have different expressions. But they did the voices on what we call a scratch track. My guy was a little English guy, looked like this, and he was doing the voice of Earl, and he was, "Hi, honey, I'm home." So they didn't want that because the dinosaur was a big guy. So they made actors do it. Now that was unusual for the Henson Company. Henson people usually did their own voices, so it was unusual for separate actors to do it. I'm thrilled. So when Mac Wilson was doing this, and he, "Hi, honey, I'm home." So I had to go, "Hi, honey, I'm home." So I had to, and it was somehow, it was restricting a little bit because I had to do what Mac did with his mouth. But eventually we got in sync. He kind of figured out the things that I do, and I figured out the things that he did. And that's what we did. And that happened with all the characters. Everybody on the show, Sally and Jessica, they've revoiced the puppeteers' voices. And like I said, it was fascinating. I went to the studio. I don't go to the studio a lot, but when I did, I got it to look at and play with the animatronics, put Earl's head on. Bill Beretta, who was inside Earl, who was now a big producer at the Henson Company, actually lost height because of that suit. It was a lot of work. I mean, they actually built a seat into the tail of Earl so he could sit down between takes. They used to shove cold hair dryers in his mouth to cool these actors out. I mean, it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
People always say, "Were you in the suit?" I go, "What, are you crazy?" But it was a fascinating. It was a great set. The set looked great. The forests and the oversized furniture, and there's the baby and Kevin Clash sticking his hand up. The baby going, "I'm the baby. I'm not the mama." And it was great. It was fun to look at. And I'll tell you, not to brag, although who's going to brag if I don't?
I like that line. I'm going to write that down.
Well, who's going to blow your horn? Most of the autograph requests I get, thank God I'm still getting them, are dinosaurs. They want dinosaurs, and since it was re-released on Disney, there's a resurgence of fondness for the show. So Dinosaurs is still out there and making people happy, and it makes me, and it was good for kids. There was nothing hard, nothing off color about it. It's good for parents because the jokes and the innuendos were understood by the adults. The kids love looking at the puppets. The puppets were spectacular. I mean, just spectacular. So I'm proud to, not the news. We didn't do anything, really off color. Didn't use bad language, or didn't have any nudity. Not me personally. I would be nude anytime anybody asked me. But we didn't show.
They didn't ask.
They didn't ask for good reason. But we didn't do anything, off color there. We never replaced in Not the News the words of people. They do that nowadays, especially with AI. We never did that. They always spoke the way they believed. And in Dinosaurs too, it was kid friendly and family friendly. And I'm proud of both those shows. That was one of the reasons is that.
That's fantastic. And were you surprised by the response and the cult following and the fan following, like you say, when you have situations, probably at Comic-Con, things of that nature, where in conventions where they ask for autographs, the super fans, that's of all these extraordinary things that you've done and continue to do, that's the number one thing they ask for is things related to your time doing that character and being a part of that.
As far as Dinosaurs. Dinosaurs is. When I was doing Not the News, if you walked around in other cities, Philadelphia, New York, people would recognize you. Dinosaurs, it's my voice. Although one audio guy in a noisy restaurant, I was talking to my wife and he came up to me, "Excuse me, are you in Dinosaurs?" I said, "What the heck did you get to?" He says, "Well, it's my job." He recognized Earl's voice from just talking like this. Fascinating business. Fascinating.
Do you enjoy doing voice work? And has there been more animated characters of that nature that are in the offing or that people may also recognize that you've done? Is that something that you really enjoy doing, Stuart?
Oh, yeah, I do enjoy doing it. And it's a great job. You can show up naked. It doesn't matter. You sit behind a microphone and you do the voices. When I was doing Dinosaurs, because I got involved with the Disney people, I did a bunch of animated shows because of Dinosaurs and because of Disney. Now things are. I'm told by my voiceover friends that things are picking up in Los Angeles. In the old days, it was all going to Canada. There was a lot of out of the country work. I'm not sure why, but there you go. And as far as I try to get voiceovers, it's I'm doing actually now a podcast, an audio podcast called Alpha 8. It's sort of a very, hopefully, again, kid-friendly science fiction type space odyssey about what goes on in the spaceship and in another time, another place. I play the commander. So if that goes well, that'll go on for a couple episodes. But as far as people breaking down my door to do voiceovers, no. And if you're out there listening, I'm available. Just call in.
Katie's watching. Good to see you, Katie. She says Stuart Pankin played Commander Plank in the Zenon movie series, the trilogy. What was that like? That's another, there's a cult-like following for that as well. A lot of people remember that and enjoy that. Yeah. How did that come your way as well?
As far as I can remember, it was just an audition. It was a straight audition, and I just went in and I read for it once, and luckily I got it. And the fascinating thing about Zenon, Stu Krieger was the writer of all the Zenon shows. We're still friends. I mean, we still hang out, play poker together, and go out to dinner. And also another benefit of Zenon was we filmed it, in various places around the world. We did the first one in Vancouver, the second one in New Zealand, which was fascinating, and the third one in South Africa, which was all of those places were quite the experience. And again, meeting some of the guest stars like John Getz and Rob Curtis Brown, Holly Fulger, who was my Zenon wife. We still stay in touch, and it was a fun experience. It was just, again, kid friendly. I don't know why I keep going back to that. If somebody wanted me to play a psychotic killer who eats babies, I would do it. But I haven't had that opportunity, so I'm hanging around with the kid-friendly stuff.
It's kid-friendly, that's right. But it's really cool. And again, you're dealing with folks who have grown up with that trilogy. And
yes, kids love the Zenon thing.
They do. And is that something, again, that sort of came out of the woodwork where you were surprised by it, by the response and just the longevity of it? And
well, that's a good question. Yes, I think I was. And there was a time when they were going to do a Zenon movie. I think 2020, 9/11 put an end to that, to be honest with you. And they were going to do another series. And I'm not sure that Christian I can't remember her last name. The girl who played Zenon was interested in it. But yeah, they were. It was fondly accepted enough so that the producers were thinking about doing other things with it. I'm sorry that it didn't happen. Really sorry, because it's a very cute show, and I really enjoyed doing it.
Yeah, that's
but
really...
was I surprised? Yeah. You know, I guess you're always surprised. It was like Fatal Attraction. I mean, nobody knew, you know, what that would become until it happened. You know, so you do a movie, you hope for the best, and then you walk away.
If Glenn Close lets you walk away. She might not if she has a Fatal Attraction. Now that's
she was coming on to me during the entire shoot. I had to say, Glenn, I'm married. Leave me alone.
Leave me alone. With a knife in hand, or
you always had a knife.
Then I tell you, taking a slice out of life. How did this come about? I mean, you were perfect in that role. Iconic movie. We've seen it multiple times. Anybody who has not seen this movie, you're dealing with Stuart, and you're dealing with
Under that rock. You see the movie?
Yeah, right. and of course, Michael Douglas. This riveting and dramatic, and it's one of those movies that just doesn't let you go. I mean, if you don't have the popcorn with you, you are not going to be leaving the couch to get any, because it draws you in. What was it like being a part of that, and how'd that come along for you?
Well, it was Adrian Lyne was mostly responsible for that for me. He knew me, and he wanted me to do Jimmy. Now, I read for it twice. Once I read for it with the script, and then I went in again, and we had some improvisation, and he wanted somebody that could lighten the mood. It was filming in New York, and the producers, and I lived in California, and producers said to him, Sherry Lansing, who was wonderful to me, says, well, why don't you get a guy in New York? You know, and Adrian Lyne, God bless his heart and soul, said, no, I would like to have Stuart Pankin do this part. So I was flying. I was doing not necessarily the news at the same time. So I was flying into New York once a week for a month, shoot my scene the next day, take a red eye back to do not the news. Or, I mean, traveling was an intense travel situation.
Back and forth, and cross country, yeah.
But it was, I mean, everybody was nice. Michael was great. Ann Archer was great. My favorite scene, of course, is the dinner scene when we all were getting drunk on champagne and really getting the buzz, because it was real champagne. You can't not pop a bottle of champagne and fake it. So, and Archie was getting a little tipsy. And Adrian was so kind to the actors. He said, you know, if we put stuff in, improvised, did a joke here and there, he encouraged it. And I think a lot of the success of that movie was him. It was his vision that made that movie so terrific. He's a very talented guy. And I appreciate him fighting for me, and I love doing the movie. And when I was flying back, I think the last time, maybe I was on a plane and Fatal Attraction had been open. Somebody said, "Oh, that's a nice movie you're in," and we'd never, you know. I mean, I said, "Well, thank you." You know, who knew?
Jason Bender types in here in the chat. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you on the show. I'm Jim Masters, your host, Jim Masters Show Live, and Stuart Pankin's here. Does anyone remember Stuart being in the TV show Out of This World? I was on 4 years on television. He played Uncle Vito. And does Stuart remember himself?
I don't remember. Out of This World. I mean, I was on Boys.
I remember that. That was on, was that on ABC, Out of This World?
I don't remember that till I said I did something. Boys Meet World, Girl Meets World. But Out of This World, Uncle Vito, was it somebody that looked like me? Is there two more handsome people on the earth?
Are there two Stuarts?
I'm sorry, my friend. I don't remember that. Now I got to look it up. Now I got to. You know.
Yeah. I could see, right, like you're talking about Boy Meets Girl, and maybe he's combining that with that. Try to dig a little bit deeper there, Jason, and then seeing, and you can post again. That's really Synth says, can Stuart do a voice impression of Earl Sinclair?
No, I never do a voice impression of Earl Sinclair. Not unless they pay me a lot of money. Fran and I used to do it for fun when we were in bed. But and I always used to say to her, Franny, I love you, honey. But this is about as much as I get.
Now you got to send him the check, sir.
That'll be $25.
Since Sonic, you got to get that check written. That is funny. Oh, he's loving it.
It's interesting. There's a thing called Cameo where people sometimes they ask actors to do.
Yes.
And they've asked me to do Earl stuff on Cameo, which is fine.
Which is great, isn't it?
It's great.
The super fans and absolutely.
It keeps you in the business. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly. Again, the roles that you've had have been extraordinary and continue to be. Another being Curb Your Enthusiasm, having the opportunity to play in that. What was that like for you? That was a cool one too.
Well, it's an actor's dream because you don't have to learn lines.
Right.
They don't even like to tell you the storyline when you're in the dressing room, getting ready to go on. So basically, you get on set, and Larry, you sit down, and I sat down opposite Larry, and he says, now, when you do this, you have to make mention of this and do this and that. So it's all improvised, and I'm saying things like, I'm making all this up. He says, yeah. So I went to the concert yesterday, and I said, cut. You can't say concert because that comes up later. Yeah, well, it was great to see you, Larry, when you hit my car. You can't say cut. It's that kind of thing. And the scene went on and on and on, getting the information that was necessary based on the storyline and what Larry and the director and the producers fed you. It was cool. It was great. We went up to Lake Arrowhead, and there was a ski shot, and I ended up breaking that character up into 2 shows, which is swell. Yeah, it was great, and it was a fun show. And talk about people remembering and liking Curb Your Enthusiasm. My God, I mean, talk about super fans. They are Curb fans all over
absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely. Look at this shot.
I'm looking. Oh, yeah, that's my twin brother, Soul.
Tell our viewers what they're seeing. In case.
Well, I don't know. This is not necessarily the new shot. I probably played a nerd who was being bullied in high school. I don't remember the scene, but yeah, that was that. That was my nerd shot for whatever scene we were doing in Undiscernible. And this too. This is Gandhi Loves Tootsie. Mitch Lawrence played Gandhi. I played Tootsie. And it was a joke that they were going to do a movie of Gandhi Loves Tootsie. And we were walking around, this Culver City.
The transformation is extraordinary.
I sometimes on the weekends I go out and do that.
Do you when you go shopping at Ralph's? Or?
When I go shopping at Ralph's, pick up either girls or guys. I don't.
Usually in the produce aisle, right? That's usually where it all happens.
That's where it all happens.
The action, right? Exactly. That is funny.
I remember him.
You were in this as well, Mel Brooks.
Life Stinks. That was wasn't one of Mel's great successes, but because of that, I worked again on another film with Mel called The Vagrant. He put me in that because of Life Stinks, which is great. And then I did what was the show with Helen Hunt and Paul Reiser?
Mad About You.
Mad About You. I did a Mad About You, and Mel played a recurring character, and I played a teacher that confronted him. So, Mel Brooks.
I could have seen you also. I know you weren't on it, but I could have seen you somehow having a role on Seinfeld, just with some of the personality that you exude and some of the characters. I could have seen you on there. You weren't, but it would have been great.
If it wasn't Wayne Knight, I would have been on it, but he was great. He got the fat guy part. But during Life Stinks, Mel produced it, he wrote it, he starred in it, and it was during the worst heat wave to date at the time in Los Angeles. And it was Mel Brooks. First thing I ever did on stage in high school was the 2,000-Year-Old Man. I memorized a great deal of 2,000-Year-Old Man, and I did it for the talent show in high school. So I started with Mel Brooks, and I've told him that any number of times. So meeting and working with, just meeting would have been fun, but working with Mel in that situation and getting to know him a little bit was, he's good. No, he's smart. He's a talented guy. So
God bless him. He, still with us at the
good.
moment, along with Norman Lear, who just hit 101, and Dick Van Dyke still, with us.
That's a regret of my life. I did a commercial with Dick Van Dyke, a Christmas commercial. I don't know what I played, a spokesman. He played Scrooge, and so he played, I don't know what he played, but the Scrooge makeup on the Scrooge character didn't work. So they never ran that commercial, but at least I got to meet and work with Dick Van Dyke, another one of my idols. Always meet your idols. Don't let them tell you not to.
Even if they, right, exactly.
Well, always meet your idols.
So Dick Van Dyke was Doc Severinsen, Dick Van Dyke. Who else have you admired over the years too in this industry?
Oh, well, Anthony Hopkins was one of my first guys that just made my jaw drop. Jim, there's so many of them. I mean, people, when I'm interviewed, people say, anything, they try to, not you, but they try to get you to dig the dirt or to say, there's nothing negative I can say about any experience or any person that I can think of in show business.
Which is a great thing. Yeah.
And if I did, my wife says, keep your mouth shut. So I'm going to do that. But the fact is,
but it's going to be in the book. No.
Like when we did an interview, Not the News, they called us from TV Guide. Remember TV Guide?
Yeah, sure. Used to collect those things.
Yeah. But we had the interviews, and they called us all and said, everybody seems so goody. Everybody likes each other. Is there any dirt? To everybody, they called everybody, and we said, no, we like each other. We have a great working relationship. So thank you for not, for saying, who slept with who and who beat up who, because there's nobody. I mean, as far as idols, if you mention, a list of names, there's a lot of British people. We love a lot of British actors, but there's nobody bad. There's nobody bad. If you mention an actor, I'll probably say I love his work or he's my idol, but never say anything bad because you can get sued.
Let's see who would come to mind. Stuart Pankin.
Yeah, I like him sometimes. A lot of actors don't look at their work. I tend to look at my work, and then my wife looks at it and tells me what I did wrong.
There's the yin and the yang of the relationship.
I need her.
You're in this too, of course.
Oh, this was great too. This was nice because I didn't have to audition. I went in and met with Frank Marshall, and just talked to him. And I thought, well, that's gone. And then a few weeks later, a week later, I got a call that says you're in it. So we did it in Cambria, which is, if you don't know it, it's a beautiful oceanside. It's magic. It's a magic place. So we filmed there for 3, 4, 5 weeks. And again, Jeff Daniels, great. Holly Jane Kozak, great. There's an actor named Peter Jason who because of that became a dear friend. He played the coach in Arachnophobia, and we become dear friends, and they would stay in touch and see each other all the time. So Arachnophobia not only was a beautiful place, but it was a cool script. Really cool script. And Jeff did a great job. Everybody did a great job.
That's great, to have all these experiences with all these fabulous people on these iconic productions in this way. Another being this one too, the Hollywood Nights.
Hollywood Nights, and that's another one. That's another one. When if people recognize me from Not the News, or not, it's from Hollywood Nights. And most people that recognize me are in uniform, some sort of police officer or anybody in uniform likes to recognize me from Hollywood Nights. That was a cool experience. We shot it literally nights. I mean, it was like, I don't remember how long, 3 or 4 weeks of night shooting up in the valley, and I got to play Dudley, who became very dear to my heart. And people keep asking me about that. I think I just did a cameo about Dudley. And but working at night, working with Michelle Pfeiffer was one of her first things. Robert Wool, star of it. Tony Danza, who I worked with subsequently. A lot of terrific people and an interesting experience because of all those classic cars. I think the producers had a raffle and gave away classic artist, some lucky person on the cast and crew. But working nights for all those weeks, it was fun, and I loved the character. Must admit, I loved Dudley. Yeah, it was great.
That's a great one too, right? And again, there's a huge, like you're talking about, there's a huge cult following still that exists for that. And then, of course, I mean, there's so many other incredible things. Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves.
Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves, like you said, was the first made-for-video, a movie made specifically to be released in video. It was directed by Dean Cundey, who was Steven Spielberg's director of photography. And again, Rick Moranis, who was great. I don't remember. There were basically four of us, and I don't remember, the name. But they were all, the women were terrific. I should have done my homework. But and again, we shrunk ourselves down, and we worked with, oversized props and green screen, a lot of green screen, which means basically we're standing here. This is a blurred background, but if this was a green screen, they put in big ants coming down to eat us. So that was fun, and it was unusual. And working with Rick Moranis was a real treat. Rick's wife died. I'm not sure. I think she died soon after that, much too young. And he, God bless him, gave up show business for a while. He's back now to raise his family, and that is so admirable. And all these two women that you're looking at, we were all great. We had a good time. And fun because it was so many. The special effects were great.
You've had a little bit of a nice association with Disney-related product, huh?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Disney's been very, very good to me.
Yes, right. And you mentioned, of course, Henson as well, the beloved Henson. This was just something I remember it so well. We saw it. It was funny. It was, endearing, and just and you're so good at what you do.
What are you talking about? Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves?
Yeah, well, everything. Yes, everything.
That's very cool.
Yeah, with everything. You just take on such a believable. You put your 100% into what you do. You really believe that you are the character. You don't think that this is an actor, a veteran actor like Stuart Pankin playing the role. You almost forget that you're Stuart, and you become that character in a very deep way, profound way that people remember and they love. How do you do that? How do you immerse yourself in a character with all these different types of characters we're talking about, comedic, dramatic, what have you, and serious, Fatal Attraction and others? How do you take on a role, immerse yourself, and not lose who you are through the process of being that person, taking on the role, and then be able to step away from it and out of it? Some people I know have said they've gotten so immersed in a role that they have trouble separating their thoughts and feelings from the thoughts and feelings of that character that they've absorbed into their world. How do you make that separation, distinction, and still stay Stuart?
That phenomenon that you talked about people not being able to take work home, that often happens, as I've read, from very deep, dramatic or violent. You have to play a serial killer or somebody that kills babies, or sometimes those actors, depending on the way they study, you talk about the method and get deep inside. And then there are some actors who have stayed, a famous actor says, I never feel anything when I do a part. For me, excuse me, the meat comes from the script. You read the script and you make decisions. James Earl Jones says when he reads the script, he turns off the phone, reads the script in the first impression. That's great advice. You read the script, you try to get some first impressions, then you read it again, and then you make some choices. How you're going to talk, speed, maybe even how you're going to walk. And then this is the truth for stage and screen, mostly stage, because the stage, you have time to rehearse and time to let things grow. That's kind of why, like actors, like stage. I mean, the beginning of a performance and the performance at the end of the run is not necessarily the same thing. To paraphrase, get me back on track. Zoe Caldwell, who won a Tony Award for maybe the Prime Minister Jody. I don't know what she did. She came to Columbia to talk to us. And a story she said, she had won the Tony Award. Last performance of the show, she did the show and she walked off and said to the stage manager, I finally figured out how to play that scene. Mm-hmm. Which is startling. It's revelatory. But yeah, so I look at the script, I get all the information. I've never done a movie from a book. I mean, anything. But you read the script, you get every bit of information you can from the script. Then you go in, let's say it's film, and you listen to the other actor. And if you trust the other actor, what they're giving you back is something that you can play with. You know, if you don't trust them, then it's a little bit of trouble. But then you have the director, who, if they're good, like Adrian Lyne, you know, he'll guide you. He didn't say a lot to me because I was, you know, I was making jokes and he was fine with that. But I've seen him direct, and Glenn Close in a scene where it was when she came in, it was A, and when she left, it was W. You know, and in all the takes that she did, Adrian gave her a little nudge, a little boost. So that's to wrap it up. You get, for me, and probably most actors, you get what you need from the script. You know, you try, you know, as far as if you have to cry, a lot of people say, think of your dead dog. I'm not going to do that. That puts me through too much aggravation. But you get it from the script, and you get it from the other actors, and you listen. I mean, as I think Cagney said, you look the other actor in the eye, and you tell the truth. And that's a pretty good summation of what
it really is. With that in mind, following that same vein, what would you look at would be maybe one or two roles that you took on that were very challenging and demanding and all absorbing for you thus far, Stuart? Not that much on film or television, to be honest with you. I mean, not the news. You just did so many characters that you do them and you work on them and you get rid of them. More stage. Stuff on stage was much more intense, and you take more of that in. Tally's, you mentioned some of these, Tally's Folly, and Huey Long is a play about Huey Long, who was governor of Louisiana. They made a play and they made a movie out of it. That was tough. I'm trying to think about television stuff that I went back and I struggled with it. Sometimes if you have an accent or a dialect or something, then you got to work on that. But I can't honestly think. I wish I could think of anything, you know, soul grabbing on television that I went home and I said, I can't shake this. This is, you know, it was all, and mostly because I do a lot of comedy, and it's easier to shake off comedy than tragedy. We did a show called Day and the Death of Joe Egg. Yes. And, which is a brilliant English play. We made it American. We updated it to Philadelphia so that people could understand. That was about a sick, disabled child. That, my wife and I, you know, it was a little difficult to shake that, you know, during the run. But that's about it, you know. I want to make mention for the viewers too, in addition to what we're talking about here, he has one of the most recognizable faces on television. And there probably isn't a show or a series that you've enjoyed, watched, caught that he hasn't been on. And he's very humble about it, but he's had incredible guest starring appearances on Boston Legal, as we mentioned, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Sweet Life, Ally McBeal, Walker, Texas Ranger, Desperate Housewives, Sisters, Shake It Up, as he mentioned, Mad About You, Family Ties, recurring roles on Falcon Crest, remember Falcon Crest, Trapper John M.D., For Your Love, Knots Landing, That's So Raven, and multiple appearances on Hooperman, Dharma and Greg, remember that on ABC, Night Court, it's Gary Shandling's show, Matt Houston, Barney Miller, Mike Hammer, and cartoon voices, and Animaniacs, Batman, Superman, Aladdin,
This is embarrassing.
A lot. He is one of those prolific character actors. He's a character, yes, but he's one of those character actors that you've seen on your television for years. And do you like those guest starring roles on the various television series? Because you're so good at it again.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's interesting when you're a guest part actor on a series. Sometimes you just gotta hang back because you're not first on the call sheet or second on the call sheet, as we say. You know, you come in usually with a very tight group of people, so you just keep it together and go in. Just like I say, look the person in the eye and tell the truth. You just do your job as best you can. But I've done tiny parts on guest parts, and I've done larger guest parts on shows, and like you said, some recurring shows, which are very gratifying. And I like them all. I mean, you get to meet Lynn Redgrave and Wayne Rogers. You get to meet all these wonderful people. Greg Harrison. If you mentioned those shows again, I would remember who was in them, and I'm starstruck, man. I mean, I especially when I was younger, when we worked at Fox for San Pedro Beach Bums. We used to have lunch at the commissary, and I used to fight for the seat that looked at the door, the entrance door, to see all the celebrities and stars come in, because I'm a fan, and I don't.
Which is very cool to hear. As much as you are in these categories yourself, and you've earned it, you appreciate the whole, magic of it all and what it takes, and some of these iconic figures that you have a chance to work with.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, acting, you're not, building roads or laying bricks.
Right.
It's not like that. But there is an emotional investment to acting and often a physical reaction, investment to acting. So when you look at that, I never, if I can, see an character, and I recognize a lot of character actors that maybe you would know, and I would, a lot of people might know. I never fail, if possible, to go up and say, I really love your work. Because I know I would appreciate it if people came up to me and said that. Yes. So looking at being a fan is fine. I'm fine with that. I don't think it's a hick emotion. I just like actors. That's why we came in.
Falcon Crest, a lot of legendary actors. Yeah. So Jane Weinman on that too. Trapezoid MD, Barney Miller, Knots Landing. I mean,
I'll tell you an interesting story about Falcon Crest, Jane Weinman. I had a 2-day shoot. My first day, Friday and Monday. My scene was with Jane Weinman. And I did the scene the first day. On the weekend, we went up to the Magic Castle to take some friends. The tip of my finger was chopped off in a car door because of the parking attendant. There you go. It's hard, you can see it a little bit, but this one. And that was an interesting experience. So over the weekend, I called the agent and I said, I can't do the second scene. So they had somebody else, but Jane Wyman, God bless her soul, said, I like that kid. Get him something else. And because of Jane Wyman, I ended up doing a recurring role, 7 or 8 of them, I think 7, on Falcon Crest because of Jane Wyman. So that was a fascinating, painful, serendipitous story.
So then the next week you had a parking attendant park the car and you cut off the other finger to get another recurring role.
How I thought of that. I would have done it in front of Steven Spielberg to get But I remember doing.
Now you wonder why he's wearing gloves, folks.
When I did the show, between takes, I had to keep my hand up because I was all, blood. And then when we did the scene, I put it down. And
circulation.
Yeah,
right.
It was an interesting time.
What was it like being a part of? And of course, we lost him way too early. Gary Shandling's show.
Great again. I did a couple of those. The first one or I don't know if it was the first one or the second one, but Gary, I'm not telling tales out of school. Gary wanted a friend to do a role. I think it was the second one. And they said, look, it was Thanksgiving. And they called me in and said, sit in the green room, look over the script. Gary's and his friend are going to run through it. They didn't like the friend that much. So I said, if he doesn't work out, would you go down and do it? I said, absolutely. this friend didn't work out, so I went down and I did that part on the Gary Shandling show. And then I did another one for, I think I played Gary's brain. You know, he's very, very nice man, very clever, very talented guy. Yeah, and he did die too soon. But again, it was a very easy set, you know. And I always say, like with Mariette and Jerry's movie, that starts at the top. You know, I said on the other video, fish stinks at the top, but like filet mignon, you know, smells like roses from the top. And if Gary Shan, and if the set is good, it's usually the guy who's number one on the call sheet. He's usually the star. And he made it very pleasant. Most of the stars or celebrities that I work with make it very pleasant to work with. And I admire that. And there are some that I'm sure I've heard that can be real touchy, you know, and egocentric and entitled.
Yeah.
None of the people that I can remember have ever been that way with me.
Which is
maybe because I carry a 45.
Well, that would be, yes. And he's not talking about Colt.
No,
45. You know, the beer, remember that one?
I carry the beer, Colt 45.
You also did the web series with Seth Green and Joe Dante. And as I mentioned, you sang and composed 2 songs for the Disney album, Dinosaurs, the Big Songs.
Yes, I did. That was great. I wrote a lot of songs for Dinosaurs and introduced them to Michael Jacobs. They put 2 of them in. And I'm the Baby was one of them, which Ray Colcourt, who has passed away, he did an arrangement for it. So we share credit for that. But I'm the Baby. That was another Betty. It's been Betty good to me. And people love that. So that was fun. We also did Dinosaurs fairy tales. Classic Tales. You are very good. With Kevin Clash, who played the baby. You know, and I was Earl, and I was, I want to go to bed. No, I'm going to read you a story. So we did that, and then other people did the story. So that was great.
And you also co-wrote and co-executive produced Stuart Pankin's Cinemax comedy Experiment.
I did.
Well, what was that like, actually doing that, writing it, producing it, taking the whole thing on there?
You know, in New York, I worked at the Shakespeare Festival with Kevin Kline and a bunch of other people. So I wrote songs. I do them all my life. I wrote song parodies. This one, I happened to write some songs for Richard III. I'm Edward, I'm Clarence, I'm Richard III. And Kevin, during the breaks, would play the piano for me. And he accompanied me. So we went to, I'm getting off track here, but we went to a rap party, an opening night party or whatever. And Kevin said, sing some songs. And I said, oh, no. He said, go ahead, sing some songs. So I sang some songs. And because of that, Jeff Hunter, who was a very big agent at the time, said, you want me to represent you? I said, yeah. So writing those songs for Richard III and Kevin, who I haven't seen him since. Isn't that interesting? But he was great. And because of that, you know, it gave me a boost in the business. But during this, to do the special, the Cinemax special, I think I was nominated 5 times for the Ace Award, but one year I wasn't. And John Moffat, who produced the show, maybe felt sorry for me. He says, you want to do a Cinemax comedy experiment, which were basically made for comedians. They gave them a relatively small budget based on Hollywood standards to do a stand-up. They hire a theater, blah, blah, blah. We decided to do an entire, you know, story, a half-hour story. I played 5 parts, hired guys to be the back of my head. I sang my own original songs. Paul Miller came in from New York to direct it. Paul Kreppel and Rennie Temple, friends of mine, good actors, came in and played my brothers. And we did it in 2 days. And that was hard work because every night for weeks, my wife and I would sit in the living room and I would go over the parts. I would rehearse and say the parts because I had 2 days. I didn't want to screw up. So I was very prepared coming in and we knew what we wanted to do. You know, would I have done things differently now having seen it on such a low budget and such a quick schedule? Yes, of course. But it was exciting. I mean, it was our show. Larry, oh my God, the writers, David Hurwitz and Larry, oh dear God, he'll never forgive me. But those two guys who wrote for Not Necessarily the Blues wrote the script. I put in some ideas, and we did it in 2 days, and it was exciting. How could it not be exciting? It was your own show, your own name on it. You wrote the music. You're acting in it. My God, I mean, talk about ego.
You also did the musical comedy version of Richard III, in which you played 5 roles.
Well, that was it.
Sang your own original music. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. It was called Hump, Richard the Hump.
That's right.
So that it was great. It was fun.
And even the Electronic Retail Association nominated you for Best Celebrity Presenter.
They did. Suzanne Summers, God rest her soul.
Suzanne Summers.
Yeah, that was for WalkFit. It's a product that is a great product, but I lost, and I don't have any regrets because my feet feel great.
I mentioned that you starred or were featured in over 80 off-Broadway summer regional theater productions, Lend Me a Tenor, Rumors, and also Happy Days, the music for Gary Marshall, huh?
Yeah, he wanted to make a musical of Happy Days. And I went in and auditioned and got it. We did 3 versions of it. The first 2 versions, I played Arnold. You remember Arnold, the cook? And he had 3 different casts, and we did it. The second one was with Carole King and Paul Wilson. It isn't easy being green. Paul, short little composer. Paul Williams, is that it?
Paul Williams, the composer with the glasses, and Paul Williams. Yeah,
I mean, working with those 2 were great. So we did that the second time, and then the third time I played Howard. And so we did 3 versions of that, and he tried to get it going, and eventually he did with a different cast. He sent it out around the country. And am I bitter? No. It was fun working with Gary Marshall. There's another fairly successful man to work with.
Gary Marshall.
Gary Marshall. So that was great. It was theater. It was music. It was singing. It was dancing. It was great.
Mm-hmm. This was not very, very long, but you still got a role as Father Mike Dooley in the sitcom Nearly Departed.
Nearly Departed with Eric Idle. Now, it only lasted 7 shows, but
so it departed.
It departed very early. But working with Eric Idle, who was, an interesting man, and Caroline McWilliams, who was his ghostly wife, and a bunch of other people. Again, I have nothing bad to say about working. I mean, when an actor works, you can't.
He thanks his manager and agent.
He thanks his manager. Well, it's like an actor whose name I will mention because of wonderful actor, George Weiner. You know George Weiner?
Sure. Yeah.
We became friends because we did a very low budget but wonderful project with Lloyd Schwartz's son, Sherwood Schwartz. Anyway, I got to know.
Lloyd. We had Lloyd on the show. It was terrific. Yeah,
it was terrific. Yeah, and he wrote it and he directed it, and it never went anywhere, but it was great fun to do. But George once said, he did a show called "She's the Sheriff." Remember that?
Yes.
Not real good. And somebody came up to George and says, "George, why did you do that piece of crap? What's the matter with you?" And he says, "I never have to explain to you or anybody else what I have to do to feed my family." And that's the way I feel about every job that I have. Now, I have turned down jobs that, I've turned down.
You did?
Yeah. My wife doesn't regret it. I regret it because I would have had money in the bank and it wouldn't have gone anywhere. But if it had to do with, smoking, for one thing, I wouldn't.
Anything that endorses things that you just don't believe in.
Or off-color stuff. I remember something with a zipper. And actually, Anthony Newley, God bless him, I went into audition for Anthony Newley and the tall guy on Second City who played the Dracula. He played, but anyway, they wanted me to do that show, and I said no. Joe Flaherty. Flaherty.
This is the one involving the zipper?
I don't know what it was. I just didn't. It didn't go with me. I didn't enjoy that humor. I was probably an idiot not to do it. But
I was going to say, are there any roles or shows or things
yeah,
that you
that one.
wish that you were on that either they asked or you had said yes?
No, I mean, I've auditioned for a lot of things that I didn't get, and I would have
Yeah.
been happy to do that. But that's probably one of them because it would have come and gone. I would have made a few bucks. Joe Flaherty, when I said it's not for me, he said, Are you hot now? What's happened? You turned at me naked. You sitting over here." And but I didn't do it, and I didn't turn down a lot of those. But I always check with my wife, and if it doesn't pass, my or her standards, then I'm not going to do it. But that did not happen a lot. Thank God I didn't have to turn down roles because the stuff that I did is fine. I mean, I'm not embarrassed to have anybody see anything I've done, whether it's tiny or not. You know what I'm saying?
So basically, when people ask you why didn't you take the role involving the zipper, you tell them to zip it.
No, Jim, I don't do that.
As he writes that down in his notepad.
Uh,
You prolific on game shows, $100,000 Pyramid and so many others. You like making those game show appearances. I mean, you're known for that too.
yeah. That the $100,000 pyramid, $25,000 pyramid. I always say it was not fun. It was never fun to do it because you're always under pressure, under the clock, trying to win money for these people, and some of that money, if you win it for them, is life changing. So you don't want to screw up. So it was always tense. The nice thing about that is I became dear friends with Bob Stewart, who created that show and a lot of other shows.
Yeah.
We became, like father son. He was,
Yeah.
so that was a great thing to do with that. Annie Bloom from Not the News did it.
Yeah.
I think Danny did it. So it was great to do. I worked hard on that. Talk about bringing that home. Yeah, that's something that you bring. If you knew that you were going to be up on Pyramid, you worked at it. You practiced because you didn't want to screw it up. Password with the great Bert Convy, not so much. And that was a little less tense. And Bert Convy and I became friends because of that. We were actually going to work together to do some movies together. And
really? Yeah.
He got sick.
He got to say,
much too young.
Yeah.
But that was a great benefit for that.
He did Tattletales too before. Remember Tattletales?
I remember Tattletales. I was hoping that it was running when I became well known, so that Joy and I could be on it because we know each other very well.
Mark Goodson, Bill Todman production. Yeah. Yep. Right after Price is Right.
Mm. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Did you ever want to host a game show?
No. I never had any desire to do it. I just enjoyed doing them.
Being on,
because it was just, again, you meet a lot of celebrities who are on it with you. That's the first time I met Betty White. Betty and I became friends over a poker club, a Pico poker club. And but one of the first times I met her was doing on the panel of a game show pilot. I did a bunch of game show pilots, some of which went, some of which didn't. But they were always, fun to do, except Pyramid. That was work.
Pyramid, yeah. When you look at your body of work, not just television, but the filmography too, it's extraordinary. It's just like Next Stop Greenwich Village, Scavenger Hunt. We mentioned the Hollywood Nights and Hangar 18, Earthbound, An Eye for an Eye, Irreconcilable Differences. I mentioned The Dirt Bike Kid and Love It Steak.
And would you be my agent? Because you're doing more than my agent's ever done.
And it does. And a number of people have mentioned Mr. James and Mannequin 2 on The Move. A couple of our viewers were commenting that they loved you in that role.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nice because it was in Philadelphia. That's my hometown. And my mom was still alive, so we got to see her. My son was young. And we brought him there and showed him all the not that he appreciated, the Liberty Bell, but we showed it to him. and it was
Philly cheesesteak.
Philly cheesesteak. I came from Philadelphia for years. I don't know if I've ever had a genuine Philly cheesesteak. And I'm embarrassed because we were right there. There's a very famous cheesesteak right in South I forget what they call it. South.
Yeah.
But again, that was great.
The Silence of the Lamb, the Silence of of the
Man,
Hams, right?
I was like,
There's another one. Congo, Big Bullies, Striptease. I mean, it's the level of work. An Accidental Christmas, You Were Saul, Almost Completely Story. Of course, we know that one. And The Great Family, Anywhere USA, I Might Be Famous. And then, as I mentioned, gang, BJ and the Bear, House Calls, Chips, Benson. I'd even mentioned those before.
you're going
You've
back
seen
before
him
I
in
was
all
born.
of these. Fame, Three's a Crowd, It's a Living, Scarecrow and Mrs. King, The Golden Girls, The New Hollywood Squares, Super Password, we mentioned, Who's the Baby? And of course, you've won a multiple amount of Cable Ace Awards too,
No,
which I
one Cable Ace award,
five
five
you have
nominations.
5 nominations, yes. And HBO and national international award-winning series, of course, not necessarily news one, but even to be nominated for 5 is fantastic, isn't
No,
it?
it's fantastic. It's Christmas when you find out that you're nominated. It's Christmas. I mean, I remember being in New York, I think, doing Fatal Attraction when my wife called and says, "Guess what?" I said, "What? You're nominated." Blah, 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 blah. It's like have yourself a merry little Christmas. It's great.
Yeah. Do you teach at all? Do you mentor others, teach others? Is that something that you have interest to do?
I'll tell you, a lot of people ask me that, and not to take it away from anybody who teaches, and I have friends who teach. There's 95% unemployment in Screen Actors Guild, and of those 5 that work, 2% make a living wage. These are old statistics, but they probably hold true. I can't, in all conscience, stand in front of a bunch of wide-eyed kids and say, be an actor. If you want to be an actor, nobody's going to stop you. I could stand up and say, it's a very hard road to hoe. You're going to have trouble. There's 95% unemployment. People are not going to care. If somebody said that to me when I was in college before I decided to go to Columbia for a master's degree, I wouldn't have believed them either. But I can't in all conscience stand in front of these wide-eyed, rosy lips kids and saying, try to get into show business. I mean, I just can't do it, and like I said, they're going to do it. And probably the cream will rise to the top. So it'll work if you're dedicated. There's a lot of people who work even now who are not the cream, but because of various circumstances, they've been lucky. And there are a lot of people who are great who will not make it through various circumstances, usually luck or other circumstances. But chances are, if you're hot, or if you're good, hot has nothing to do with it. You're good, you'll find a way, either through doing plays in LA and having agents watch you and blah, blah, blah. You'll find a showcase or two to get yourself out there. But as far as teaching, I can't do it. I can't do it.
We've had some guests on in the acting realm, and they've said something like, look, here's the advice I would give. And that is, if you're 50% in on becoming an actor, actress, or going into these fields, but the other 50% of you wants to possibly be an accountant, be the accountant. You got to be 100. You got to be 100% in.
You got to be pretty up there in the 90s at least to, even if there's doubts in the back of your head. People always say, well, if you go to a graduate program, then you'll have something in the back you can teach. Well, it's true. I mean, I guess I could throw my degree around and try to get a job. But you're right. If people are not committed to this very difficult business, and I'm talking about the business of the business, then they probably should. And I've had any number of friends who were successful actors who now psychologists. They seem to gravitate towards psychology. I've had any number of people, 3 that I can think of, that were writers or actors, and they are now psychologists and very successful.
You started with that first.
And interesting. That's right. Interesting. I don't know why I liked it in high school, so I thought it would be interesting. And
there's a lot of psychology in the work itself, isn't there?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. If you can get into the minds, like we were talking about earlier, of the character, if you can find something, to be able to sidestep a cliche here or come up with a unique point of view there, and if you can do that by knowing human nature, well, that's more the power to you as an actor.
Exactly right. I want to let folks know too that you've appeared in the IMAX theaters as well as absent-minded professor in the series of edutainment 3D films, Encounter in the Third Dimension and Misadventures in 3D,
Yeah.
designed for large screen IMAX theaters.
Mhm.
That's cool. And also you were spokesman in infomercials for the Walk Fit Phase 4 orthotics shoe insert.
Yeah, go out and buy them, man. Go out and buy them. They're great. No, they are. They are.
It just shows the scope and variety of your talent and your ability, not just the eagerness to do work and stay working, but
my head.
I was going to say, he's a show-in. He's a show-in.
You talk about the 3D IMAX stuff. They were edutainment. I had to. It was basically a one-off me standing here talking. I had to learn more lines for that than I've had to learn in any number of plays put together. It was really hard work, but very interesting. And those things were gonna be more successful, except that IMAX, all of a sudden they started, after the second one, they started to make more movies in IMAX. So the theaters became non-existent. They wouldn't put a small little film like ours into an IMAX theater because they wanted to save it for the big extravaganzas. And that's always been a disappointment to me, that we couldn't have done more of those or had those more widespread, because they're really very interesting. I mean, explaining 3D and the history of film, really interesting. I have it, but it's, when you play it, it's like blurry because it's supposed to be 3D. So you need some sort of special glasses, and which I don't have. But I'm very happy to have done it. It was one of the most labor-intensive jobs as an actor I've had to do, but very enjoyable, very enjoyable.
I want to make mention too, just expanding on a little bit, you created the roles of Reuben and Queen Victoria in the New York premiere of Andrew Lloyd Webber's Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Great.
That's incredible, huh?
Well, that was yeah. That show, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, first New York production, directed by Frank Dunlop, who did the original English production of that. And that show, because people saw me in that show, actually got me an agent in California, but submitted me to the San Pedro Beach Bums, which is how I got to California. So Joseph was was an important part of my getting to California, and also to meet Frank Dunlop, who was a terrific guy. He founded the Young Vic. He directed, I think it was Scapino on Broadway. Directed a lot of shows on Broadway. Good friends with Angela Lansbury. He directed her in shows. And because of that, I did a show called The Milliken Show that Frank put me in, which that's a whole other story for another time. The Milliken Show. The Milliken Show was a fascinating story. We'll do that on another interview.
Yeah. We'll have a part two. This is a mini series, folks. This is just part one.
And part two.
We've only gotten up to 1982.
Yeah, but Frank was great, and doing Joseph. Like I said, it was supposed to go to Broadway, but various technical problems, et cetera, prevented that from happening. And again, one of the main disappointment of my life. I had about 3 or 4 of them, shows not going on because of various things that have happened. But that would have been really nice. But I'm talking to you, so things must have worked out.
They sure have. And, you mentioned your lovely wife. Having somebody...
Keep my wife's name out of your mouth.
Ow, that hurt. You did that well. Okay. Also from Philadelphia.
Will Smith's from Philadelphia? Is he?
Don't you remember the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? That was the song West Philadelphia.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
he's a terrific actor. Sorry that he's going through a lot of crap.
Yeah, all the stuff that went on.
I don't know. That's politics.
So as I recover, if there's any swelling on this side, we know why, because he's got long arms. He's got that one finger that'll kill you. Yeah, it's Mike Myers. Having somebody like your lovely wife being there and through it all and the thick and thin and the up and downs and being the support and rooting you on and helping with some decision making and things like that is really an extraordinary blessing to have in your life, isn't it? And especially in such an unpredictable and crazy industry as all this is.
Yeah. I met Joy in Colombia, and we sort of fell in love there. And she, like I said before, had a theater in Pennsylvania that she worked with. She helped form as a student, and then it became a professional theater. And that's where I went and did all those plays. So Joy, and we've been together 49 years, more than that. We've been together over 50 years. And I couldn't do it without her. She's great. She's not only she's talented, but she's smart and she's wise. And she's like, if I say want to do something, you say something, she'll go, don't do that. She'll keep me on the straight and narrow.
Sure,
and I appreciate that. Not only do I respect her theatrical abilities, but her moral and ethical abilities. She's very smart. Hell of a lot smarter than me.
What's coming up? Of course, we've got the holidays and all, and now that the strike is over, are things picking up for you? Is the phone ringing? Hey, we want you for this, Stuart. Hey, we're working on this.
No, not really. Jerry and Mariette's movie is coming out. That's the last thing I did before COVID. I work for friends when they wanted to do. They do. Any number of friends do small film projects or podcasts or film projects. I'll do that anytime, But as far as my phone ringing off the hook, no. If anybody's out there who wants it, call Jim. He'll give me my number.
That's right. We'll set you up and we will connect you. And we are connected.
I'm very happy that the holidays are coming up. I love the holidays. And
do you travel or do you stay home with the family?
Used to travel a lot. Because my wife's family was in the East Coast. Now we don't. We stay home.
You stay put.
It's a lot. The world's crazy. I don't want to be out there. It's just
yeah. No, it is. Do you like to cook?
No. My wife and her wife's family had an Italian restaurant in New York for 100 years.
Wow.
In Long Island. So
on Long Island, yeah.
On Long Island, North Shore, Long Island. 100 years. There's actually a plaque.
What was the name of it?
It was called Stango's, and there's a plaque on the corner.
I'm from Long Island originally.
Yeah. Where from?
Well, I was born in Mineola, but we grew up further out east towards the Smithtown area.
Well, Mineola's fairly
was close. North Shore, yeah.
North Shore. But there's a plaque on the, embedded in a rock says Stango's Corners and talks about David Stella Cocciola, for 100 years. So Joy cooks, and she's very good at it. Her family. The restaurant was great. Southern Italian cooking was great.
Sure.
So Joy has picked up those skills. I can do a great scrambled egg and a great hamburger.
Oh yeah, yeah. Hey, those are staples.
And maybe I'll throw in a Rochambeau once in a while, but that's a special occasion.
That is funny. Somebody that wanted to pop in and say hello, Mr. George Burns is in the house.
Hi, George.
I'd like just to meet him or work with him at all for anything. Yeah,
it would have been great. I love this show. I love the relationship that he had with his wife. I remember him saying once when he went on stage with Gracie, he checked where the wind was going, and he always went downstage so that smoke would never blow in Gracie's face.
Yeah,
he was a funny man, and she was. They're both great.
He always. Thank you for popping in, George, with a cigar. He hangs down here with his martini. He always credited Gracie for being the one who really, sort of set it all up for him in terms of just being the funny one who was very good at being able to,
It takes a lot of skill to be a straight man. George Burns, Bud Abbott, Dean Martin. It takes a lot of skill to do it without making it look like work. And those guys had it.
Absolutely right, my friend. So anything in the offing or just the holidays are coming, some nice downtime, and would you write a book? Would you write a book about your experiences, a memoir, autobiography? I'm sure people have asked you for that a lot.
Maybe, but I don't have the writing gene in me.
If you had a ghost writer, maybe, or somebody that you just speak it out and then they put it together.
I'm humble enough to think that nobody's really going to rush out to the bookstore to get a book about my life. So no, I'm not going to do that. A lot of other people, even friends have written books, not necessarily about their lives, but about acting and auditioning and all that stuff. I have no desire to do that. I'm just happy to sit here and talk to guys like you and remember you've done more homework than 12 of these guys that I've worked with. It's astounding what you've come up with. I appreciate it. I really do.
And it makes me feel
a little humble and a little happy.
Well, I've always admired your work and your tenacity. You're omnipresent. You've been in so many things and a part of our lives for literally decades in so many different roles, iconic roles, recurring roles, one night offs, whatever. It just really, you're part of the psyche of entertainment for television and stage and film for all of us. So when you were on with Marriott Hartley and Jerry and all the rest of the gang for their movie, I said, he's done so much and he's such a great guy. I've got to get him on separately just to talk about how he started and what his passions are, what's his approach, and some of the things he's most proud of, and reminding the viewers of some of the incredible things you've done and continue to do. So it was really, a real honor and a pleasure. And as I always say, as I said when you were on with Marriott and Jerry, we'll definitely keep the porch light on for you. You are welcome back anytime. And I hope you'll spread the word about our show. If you know other folks you think would also like to pop on, they're all welcome. Absolutely. It definitely takes a village for everybody. And some of our viewers, our Lovity viewers, are already getting you to work. Merlin in Canada says, Stuart, would you consider doing a Hallmark movie?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've done a lot of Christmas movies, but never a Hallmark movie. I'd love to do a Hallmark movie.
Wouldn't that be fantastic?
Could you call Mr. Hallmark and give him my
Call Mr. Hallmark. I believe, Hallmark's in, is it Kansas? Or I think the greeting cards. This has been a wonderful conversation. Thanks for being with us, Stuart. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Synth Sonic's been asking this and is probably dying for the answer. Thank you, Synth. Question for Stuart. Did you guys do a live action animated film of dinosaurs?
No, never did an animated. It was just the ABC series, which is on Disney now, if you want to check it out. Never did a film.
Dylan says, oh my God, the yogurt and Striptease.
Oh God, that's right. That was fun with Ving Rhames. Oh, that was great. And Demi Moore, who I never worked with, but always liked looking at her.
Right. Kathleen in New York City, some of our faithful Lovity viewers. Thanks for being here, Stuart. Such an amazing career. Nice having you here.
Kathleen, it's a pleasure to be here, pal. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. This was terrific, my friend. Truly, I'm so glad that you came back on after you're with Marriott and the gang. And I really appreciate all the time. And just thanks for everything that you've done to entertain us, make us think, make us laugh. You're just, again, one of those people that is part of, the fabric of entertainment for us. And I know you're very humble about it. So I work in these industries similarly as well. So I believe that we should really celebrate one another and support one another, because it's not such an easy industry to be in, and you don't always hear the positivity and the good. So I think we need to celebrate that more. And one of the reasons why, I started this series is to, have a lot of guests say, oh, Jim, you're bringing back the lost art of conversation. These aren't interviews. These are like Dick Cavett, Carson, Merv, Mike Douglas type conversations versus just the typical interview. And Merlin in Canada here says, great meeting you, Stuart. Thanks for spending time with us. Absolutely. You be well. And again, truly, I hope you enjoyed the time with me as much as I have with you, Stuart.
Pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
I appreciate that. And as my father's always said, and I think I might have said it when Marriott was on, he told us the sage advice when I was 7 years old. He says, Jim, whenever anybody says something kind or nice to you, remember this: thank them for those kind words. Always thank them. And then ask them to please put those words in writing, in an envelope, and address the envelope management.
Well, thank you so much for your kind words, pal. I'm getting an envelope now.
Yeah, I'd say he's blushing.
I am. This is a little bit.
I am Ralph Edwards, and this has been your life.
This is my life.
The updated version. So far, he will be back because we only got up to what, 1987, I think. That's about it. There's more to tell. Stuart, thanks for all the fun. And really, truly, you're a great guy and a great talent. And we will welcome you back and spread the word about our show. The YouTube episode link, which is on, you can share on your social media. Let folks know if they would love to see this. It's archived on the channel, so people can watch it.
Thanks, Jim. I sure will.
All right, Stuart.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays to you as well. Blessing and joy to you and your family.
Thank you.
Now go stretch those legs. Go get a sandwich. You're saying for your supper. Go get a sandwich. Be well, Stuart.
Bye-bye.
Take care now. Incomparable Stuart Pankin stopping by Levity Hall, the Jim Masters Show live series. How cool was that? Boy, did we talk about a lot of cool things about his iconic career. So many things you guys remembered, some that you pointed out as well. And that was great. That's what we do. Conversations here on the broadcast. I want to let you know as well, in December, Sharon Gless is joining us, from Cagney and Lacey and a lot of other iconic series. She's going to be joining us as well. And lots of great people. We just had Linda Gray on the other night from Dallas. She played Sue Ellen Ewing. She was amazing if you didn't see that episode. And yes, if you would like to see this episode again, or you joined us late, gang, don't fret, don't worry. This episode is archived on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. And if you enjoyed this episode and all the ones you enjoy, give this episode a like. There's a thumbs up icon you see on the YouTube channel next to all the episodes. Click the thumbs up. Give us some lovity. Give us a like. Share this. As well, leave a comment. Interact with us on our YouTube channel. Even if you chatted in our chat room during the live show, drop a comment on the YouTube channel underneath the episode. When you do that, that helps our series grow and be seen by more people around the world, because the YouTube algorithm likes when you do that. When you leave a comment and you click like and you subscribe to the YouTube channel, which costs nothing, just hit that subscribe button. I think it's a black button in the upper right-hand corner of this channel, the Jim Masters TV YouTube channel. So that's what we do here. If this is your first time watching JMS, we welcome you. Thanks for stopping by. The show is quite unique. It's different. It's interactive. We take some time with our guests. We don't rush them through. If they only have 20 minutes or 10 or, 10 minutes, takes 10 minutes just to start the show and say my name. No, you know what I mean. If we have a guest that has limited time, then we do that. And oftentimes they'll come back anyway. Or somebody who wants to, expand upon their life and their experience, we let them do that. We don't rush them through, because I think you get a chance to learn even more about some of these celebrated guests we have and celebrity guests we have here on JMS. So if this was your first time here, welcome. If you've been here since day one, thank you. And if maybe you stumbled upon our series just recently, thank you as well. Again, like, comment, subscribe. Tell everybody you know about our show, the Jim Masters Show. Don't keep it a secret. The more the merrier. Let's make it a big party. Everybody's welcome to join us. And again, drop a comment, connect with us. You can find me on social media at Jim Masters. How do you spell that? Right there. Jim Masters TV, Jim Masters TV on Facebook, Instagram, and also on X, which is formerly called Twitter. That's now called X. And of course, our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. Thanks for stopping by, for your support, love, and enthusiasm of the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show Series. Take a look at a couple more comments. If you ever want to support what we're doing, there's a little heart icon underneath all the episodes on the YouTube channel. Click that. You can help support what we're doing. And also, when the shows are on live in the chat room, Super Chat, Super Emoji, Super Stickers, you can do that as well. All right. We had 2 shows today for those of you who are watching. We did a show just a few hours ago with the incredible Emmett Cahill, Irish tenor from the very popular Celtic Thunder musical group. He was with us exclusively and for the first time on our show. You asked for him for a long time. We've had all the other guys from Celtic Thunder on. and he was with us today. So he was here earlier. And then, of course, Stuart, legendary actor Stuart Pankin, joined us just moments ago. Again, you can see this episode again on the YouTube channel in its entirety. Thanks for everybody for these great comments. Let's just take a quick look from some of our real folks who like to comment in our Levity Hall chat room. Double Levity. Love Double Levity days. Have a great night. Hope you're feeling better, Kathleen. I know you've been under the weather, so we send you some JMS Levity pronto. I hope you're feeling better. From me and the gang here at JMS. Maureen, who I just met in New York City. Matter of fact, she's one of our Levity viewers, and we just met for dinner in New York City. Well, we've met each other before. I met her actually in New York last year when she came east to New York. We're here in the New York area on the East Coast. And we got together and we had dinner at Sardi's and then closed the place. And then when I was on a television shoot out in Arizona, where she is, we had dinner there. And then she was just back east a couple of days ago. And we had dinner at Patsy's Italian restaurant. You know, we did a special episode with Sal, the owner of legendary Patsy's. We had dinner there. It was a lot of fun. So it's nice sometimes meeting some of the folks who are faithful and supporters of our show. Like she is. She's done all kinds of different things to support our series on and off the air. So it was nice seeing you again, Maureen, in New York City. And thank you very much. Jim, you are amazing at what you do. Thank you for always bringing us the very best on JMS. Jane here as well. Thanks, Stuart, for being here tonight. Thank you, Jim. You as well. Dylan, thanks for stopping by the show, my friend. You're now a JMS Levity. Thank you, Jim. Happy holidays. Happy holidays to you as well. Gang, if you love this kind of stuff about the Jim Master Show live series, don't keep it a secret. Tell everybody. Yes, Patsy's is so, so great. I want to go back next time in New York City. And you got to meet Sal. Yes, the owner, my buddy Sal. Everybody has gone to Patsy's in New York. And Merlin says thank you to Stuart. Thanks for being here and spending time with us. And all of you here as well. And Dylan says, I'll always remember him, meaning Stuart, as the voice of God coming from the speaker in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Thank you for the lovely evening. And then he says, sorry, we shrunk ourselves. So it's Honey, we shrunk ourselves. You are very welcome for that, Dylan. Thanks, Jim. Great conversation. You are welcome as well. And good stuff. All right. We love you all. Thanks for stopping by the Jim Master Show Live series. We really appreciate you guys being here. It's always a pleasure having you here, watching us. Tell the world about the Jim Master Show Live series. We don't say goodbye around here. We say see you later and take care. Be well. Love one another. Take care of one another. And parting is such sweet sorrow. That's why we don't say goodbye. We say see you later. We will be back with another episode tomorrow live. But all of the episodes, every single episode, you can watch again, binge watching. You can binge watch the episodes on our YouTube channel. And there's over 1,020. So if you want to go way back in time and you want to see the past episodes or maybe there's some you missed, maybe you just joined our show recently and you missed some of these phenomenal guests from all these different backgrounds, you can definitely see them again on our channel, Jim Masters TV. All right. With that said, I think I'm really good and I think you're great. And we will see you on the next episode. I'll be here waiting for you on the Jim Master Show Live series. So as we say, when we bid you adieu for this particular episode, I said, take care of one another, love one another, take care of yourself. Jim Masters here in Levity Hall at JMS, thanking you for your time this time till next time. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Jim Masters Show Live. Love you all. Be well. Take care. Hope you enjoyed the show. Cheers.